Look at my Star Trek toys! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys. And guess what? We have more breaking news. It's very
breaking news.
I forgot we had a theme song for that Mike improvises every week. And so, to be perfectly honest, this isn't really that breaking for the community that watches our show because chances are you probably already know all the information we're about to give you. We were going to do a video earlier, but honestly, we were like, look, we don't want to rehash what you already know. So I reached out to Playmates with a whole bunch of questions about this new line, and then found out they're closed until Tuesday. So we will get some hopefully new information on Tuesday or Wednesday, which we'll be dropping here in your feed.
We'll come back.
But we did not want to let this momentous occasion go by without some initial reactions and thoughts, because guess what? Playmates Toys has officially announced the first line of Prodigy action figures. So this is very exciting. Mike, how much do you know about the Prodigy show?
So, not a lot, but I did watch the pilot. And by pilot, I mean first episode, as it was there was a few out by the time I popped in. And then I stopped, Keith, because I actually really enjoyed it, as a matter of fact. I thought it was an interesting kind of, oh man, I'm about to say something that I think might be controversial, but it was a very Star Warsian kind of origin story, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
At least it seems to be starting that way. Very cool. I like the kids and the characters and stuff, but I thought maybe because this line was coming out that we might be doing some content around watching the show, so I paused so that in the event that we were going to watch it together. So we haven't really decided. So
this is the first I've heard of it, so
I just thought we should do something like about a show that's going on that is like not 20 years old.
That's not 30 years ago?
Yeah. Anyhow, really cool. I am a huge fan of animation, especially contemporary animation, and not the like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse type animation, the sort of like stock animation, you know what I mean? So this, I think, has a unique animation style. The characters I find to be fun thus far, and rife with opportunity for play and creative figure expression. So we had heard so many rumors about this being part of that new line, and which we discussed when the initial wave 1 was introduced, and these were not included. And I remember I speculated that perhaps they were bifurcating the lines into 2 different tracks, and it looks like, Keith, that is what panned out.
Yeah, that's definitely what's happening. I'm super excited about this too. I actually, sort of similarly to you, have watched a couple of the first episodes and then stopped for what we talked about. But I think Prodigy's delightful. I think it's really fun. The animation is terrific. There are enough nods to the lore for the adult watchers and the Trek fans and trying to piece together what's going on there. I think you're right that the pilot feels a little Star Warsian. But then I think once we're dealing with Janeway teaching and training the crew, which becomes a major part of the story, we get into much more Trek storytelling opportunities. So I really like it. I think it's cool.
Last point I want to question. I have not watched Below Deck. So,
Lower Decks,
excuse me.
Slightly different show.
Yeah, how very true. But you have, so I'm curious, like it both being in the animated universe, what is the tonality shift between the two?
Well, it's very different. They both have sort of comedic elements, and they're both animated. But first off, the animation style is completely different. The Lower Decks animation style is more traditional. It's obviously digital, but it looks closer to the hand drawn as opposed to the fully CG realized characters in Prodigy. And Lower Decks is for adults, right? It's not like R-rated adult, but it's for us. It's for the fans of the series from way back when, and it's basically a contemporary comedy take on our world here. So it's a lot of little inside jokes from the Next Gen and Voyager and Deep Space Nine era, and it's a little bit. It's not edgy. It's not like dirty or anything like that, but it's definitely aimed for us. So it is a. They're both animated, but they have a different audience that I think they're going for. And certainly, we will talk about at some point. Like, no toys for that line announced yet. And I don't think that there's even been anything announced that might be in development. And I certainly feel like Lower Decks deserves a toy line. But I understand, like, from where Playmates is coming from, if you're going to do toys for an animated series that's not for kids, like, it's tough. I imagine they might get to it at some point. And I've seen some unbelievable customs for Lower Decks, which we will get to at some point. I guess
we'll see how those ratings go and how these toys sell.
Everything depends. We get so many questions about what are they going to do this? They're going to do this, going to do that. Well, it's all going to depend on whether we buy this next toy line. So let's talk about what they're doing for Prodigy. And so we have here the first 5 figures that they have shown. They're going to be 6 in the opening line. So the figures that we are getting this line are going to be Doll, played by Brett Gray, which is sort of like the main character, who's going to we're going to get Gwyndala, Yankum Pog, Hologram Janeway, which we don't have yet. Zero and Rock Talk is coming in 2023. So a couple of interesting things here. I don't know why they haven't shown us the Janeway figure, if it's coming in this line. I did email Playmates to ask about that. I completely understand why Rock Talk isn't there yet, because they have some questions to deal with in terms of scale, because that character is giant compared to the rest of them, and I think from a production standpoint, you're gonna have to charge more for the figure or have it be the wrong scale. I don't know. You have some questions out there. But here's what Playmates said in their release. These 5-inch 1/14 scale figures will feature 14 points of articulation and come packaged in brand new blister pack style designed exclusively for the Star Trek Prodigy toy line. So there are some similarities and some differences here from the main Star Trek universe line that they are doing. They're the same scale as the new figures, which are up for red hot debate whether or not that's exactly the same scale as the 90s. We're still figuring it out. 4.5 inches, 5 inches, really so many questions about that. But these are designed to fit into that scale, and they have. It looks like they're going to have a similar articulation to the 14-point articulation from the new 22 line of the STU line. They are going to have a brand new blister pack style. So these are not going to be packaged in the sort of like retro 90s era packaging. So that's going to be different. So there's some similarities, some differences, and we get a little bit of information from Carl Aronian, who is the senior vice president of Playmates Toys, who has a comment about how what these are aimed at, right? Because the other line, it's very much aimed at adults. It's aimed at collectors. It's aimed for us. But he said, we are excited to bring the Star Trek Prodigy toys and accessories to homes and accessories home to families for the first time. This new lineup we are unveiling is highly focused on playability. We want kids to take the toys out of the packaging and engage in imaginative play as they were part of the Star Trek world themselves. So, very much saying like, hey, look, this is for your kids to play with. This is not designed to go up on your shelves in its original packaging like the other line is. Which I completely understand now, like you said, why they would bifurcate the streams here, why they would change how they're marketing and releasing them separately, because they are sort of designed at different audiences, which I think is cool. Which, of course, look, when they put out the first line in the 90s, they were like, hey, it's for kids to play with. Take them out of the packaging. And now we're all like, why did I take them out of the packaging and play with them?
Buy two, parents. Buy one, keep in the packaging.
There you go.
Let your kids go crazy.
There you go. No, that is exactly right. So some of the questions I have already asked Playmates include asking about stands and accessories. Where will they be sold? In what regions? We've had some questions about the other line. Will they be sold in the UK retail, not just online, so you don't have to deal with shipping? And I forget what else I asked. But if you have questions, right, we're going to be dropping this today on Sunday. Playmates won't be open till Tuesday. So if you have any more questions that you would like me to ask, send them our way, drop them in the feed here, and then either in this round or in a second round, I will follow up and try to get some answers directly from them. One of the questions that I did ask that I've already answered, I didn't answer, they did, is who designed these? Who built these? Who sculpted these? And it is Varner Studios again, which I'm delighted to know. Varner Studios dropped it on their Instagram feed. And as a point of interest, I did reach out to them about the scale and size issue, because Playmates didn't really give that much of an answer. They said it's 5 inches. I'm like, well, what do you consider the old line? Do you consider that 4.5, or do you consider that 5? And we just have a semantic. Well, we didn't get a straight answer on that. So I asked Varner Studios about the other line, about the main line. And they're like, look, we made them 5 inches. Whether they size them up or size them down, who knows? But that's what they submitted and gave to Playmates, were the 5 inches. So no answers yet, but the questions are being asked. So if you look at these toys, I mean, we only have one image of them, but to me, and Mike, I'll let you hop in with your own feelings, but these look amazing to me. The level of detail, the paint, the sculpts. I mean, and in a situation like this where you're working off of a digital map that they're obviously making for the animation, because you're not dealing with human features and faces and that kind of stuff, you can make it match unbelievably well. Because you have the sculpts, but also it's simplified, right? And these look like they're screenshots from the friggin' show. So I'm super excited about that, Mike.
I have a lot of thoughts, Keith. Which
let's hear them.
I actually took a few notes, and then I left the notes in the other room. So I'm gonna stumble over myself talking. I have a lot of thoughts, and
yeah, tell me your thoughts, Mike.
They may alienate some folks, or people might disagree with me. Speaking of disagreeing, feel free. Let's talk about this. What do you think about the show Prodigy in general? And I want to start there. I'm super psyched, right? As you know, I'm coming at this as a guy who I don't have the nostalgia factor as much because I really just didn't watch I wasn't in the Star Trek verse, right? Coming up, all the shows. And what animation is doing is it is giving, I think, kids, a chance to jump in without having to bear the burden of catching up, right? And I think that a lot of people whose love for the series is steeped in lore, that can be trying because it's obviously going to bifurcate the audience in some ways. People who are not fans of the sort of new arm, and people who are and think that, you know, the term that is made famous is to boldly go. Well, so doesn't it make sense that we should offshoot into kind of new stories for new audiences and get the kids involved? And so that's one point. I like that. I think it's cool for something to I felt that way when they rebooted the movie series. Like, let's shake it up a little bit. I know that that's also controversial. I think, you know, we talked when we looked at some of the figures about how even in the 60s, Trek was pushing the envelope when it came to representation. Yeah. And now, when you're not limited, like Keith, like you were just saying, when you're not limited by having to get the creature design and the costume design to be cost effective and
practical
actually practical on human beings, you can really diversify what the people, what the characters look like, what their colors are. Look, there's non-humanoid people in here that are really different types of design, and I think one, that's awesome for kids who are developing and who can see different people working together to solve problems and to be a team. I think that is really, it might be too woke for some, but I think it's awesome. But when it comes to toys, you have exploded the envelope of what's possible. The people, I imagine Varner Studios is chomping at the bit to continue this line and hope it sells, because you're not limited. You don't have to, it's so much easier, I'm sure, to like get these, like you said, these designs to mimic the actual characters, but also the creativity, the colors already. Look at the colors popping off the screen. This appeals to me. If I'm a kid, like we said, no disrespect to the tried and true, the OG, but at the end of the day, 800 figures of like people's faces, it just looks like dudes wearing black uniforms, right? Whereas now, I'm a kid, I'm 7, 8 years old. Holy crap, Mom, I want that one, and I want that one, and I want that one, and that one, and that one. Oh, I'm psyched, Keith. I want these figures. I want to buy them now. I'm into it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get it. I mean, I totally do. And, you know, especially for a kid's audience. I mean, I think Varner Studios would be like, yeah, it's really awesome to do all of this, but like literally everything has to be custom built. There's no reusing legs. There's no reusing torsos.
Well, yeah, and look, you're not putting these on the same shelf with your Cisco in a chair and your Janeway from. You're not putting them on that shelf. But I don't think they want you to. They want you to buy a new shelf, Keith.
Well, I know I'm gonna have to buy more shelves. I'm gonna have to take down all the rest of the things in my life to build space for all of these toys. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm psyched about it. I really am. I think this is, I think these look great. They look very playable. And I think that the characters are fun. The show's fun. And I think that, hopefully Playmates, has a hit on their hands here, because, and look, the popularity of this will help the other line too, right? You know, we all want our like obscure figure from blah 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 blah. If Playmates is making money hand over fist on Star Trek, they're gonna make more of these. So definitely go out there and buy these. I'm excited about that. Oh, I have asked what they're gonna retail for. Of course, we're gonna do a whole nother video when we get some answers and find out what's going on with this. But I should point out the action figures will be available at online retailers beginning in October of 22 and on store shelves in spring of 23. New Star Trek Prodigy ships, vehicles, and role-play toys will be available later in 23. So I didn't actually read the end of. I actually asked them if they're going to do ships, and they already answered me. I just didn't read
the
far
rollout
enough.
strategy is interesting here, and it's very of our time. It seems like the soft launch online around holiday season is really going to be a barometer for them to see the production, how they ramp up production in early 2023.
Yep. No, for sure. But I'm really excited that they're going to do the ship. Because I think the ship on this show looks fantastic. I love the design of it. It feels like a contemporary version of what we love. Seems practical. I love it. I really like the design on that.
I have a question, not for Playmates, not for Varner Studios, but for our audience, Keith.
Okay.
For you and for our audience, I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Okay.
And I'm going to give our audience a chance, and I don't. There is no flippance with this. I am being 100% sincere, which Keith will tell you is not a trait that I often.
Yeah, I'm skeptical. We'll see.
So, I've been waxing philosophic here, and we've been discussing the different show. There's been a variety of shows, and now we have new shows that I think are being even more divergent than ever before. Animation, the tonality, the audience, the target audience, all of those things. At the end of the day, the Star Trek universe umbrella, okay, which is clearly what we're calling it. We got it right here.
Yes, to you. Yep.
What is the elevator pitch what is the cohesive tissue of the Star Trek universe? What combines them all together other than the IP and just the name, right? Define for me, you, Keith, and then I would love to read people below our audience. What is Star Trek? What connects, aside from Janeway, the people, some of the characters that go back and forth, right? You can't just slap Picard in something and call it Star Trek. I guess you could.
Right.
But you get my question. Define for me what makes Star Trek Star Trek.
Well, I think the classic answer to that question has always been an optimistic view of the future. There's the Gene Roddenberry quote, "The infinite diversity and infinite combinations." So valuing optimism, valuing diversity. I think the other big piece of it is, for me, it's about valuing science and cooperation and maturity as a problem solving opportunity. And so it's less about whether we come up with the problems that we come up with. It's more about how do we choose to try to solve the problem. A Star Trek solution to a problem is using cooperation, science, logic, compassion. And those are sort of the tenets of Star Trek to me. And I think that that's where it's different from a lot of other sci-fi worlds where, you want to get to like badassery and pew pew. And, certainly there's plenty of that in Star Trek. But for me, what has always defined it for me is let's try to be adults first, to be kind, compassionate, rational, cooperative, scientific method-based solutions to problems. And the other part of it, of course, is in the classic sense of sci-fi, it's using a science fiction mask on contemporary issues and working through all sorts of things, diversity, gender, socio-political issues, like a whole mess of different things that you can talk about more easily in a sci-fi environment before you get up into chaos. So that's my answer. That was not a short answer.
Wouldn't call it an elevator pitch, but well said.
It's more like a TED Talk. I could definitely do a TED Talk on the values of Star Trek. And for me, people say, "Oh, that's not Star Trek." The only way that you can diverge from Star Trek is that if you abandon that principle as your goal. Now, plenty of Star Trek that they don't succeed at that. It's not about always succeeding. There's some of Deep Space Nine, some of these amazing episodes about failing to do that, and where that you come across the limitations of that, and there's some great storytelling to be. I'm not saying you can't be dark. I'm not saying you can't have flawed, complex characters and storytelling, but it's just existing in a world where we're trying for this, and what we're watching is the struggle to try to achieve that. So anyway, I don't know how we ended up talking about this here.
Sorry, I'm just in that mood today. I just
talking about some Mike's in a philosophical place. We're gonna have to spin off and do another show on this, but I think that's everything we know about the new Prodigy line. So if you're still here, thanks.
Hey, anybody from Playmates lurking? Anybody from Varner Studios lurking, watching the show just to check to see what stupid stuff we're saying? Do you want to come on and talk with us? Go direct to the people? You're welcome. Open invite. That's all I'm saying.
Always. And Mike, if they wanted to reach out to us, how would they do that?
Oh, Keith, I'm so glad you asked.
I know you are.
It's so easy. All you have to do is set your phasers to email.
I quit. Set your phasers to email. Somebody make Mike a T-shirt that says that.
Look at my Star Trek toys at gmail.com. Couldn't be simpler. Or hey, well, guess what? We're here on the YouTubes. We ain't going nowhere. We can't earn a dime Doesn't matter. You can comment for free down below.
Hey, we're gonna earn a dime.
We are.
Once we get our 1,000 subscribers. So
1,000 subscribers. We got a Patreon.
subscribed,
We have
please
ideas, folks. We need you. Hey, if you want to like and subscribe, that helps us out. Believe it or not, it is true. It does.
time.
Or even better, let somebody know. Check out the show. If they're not an OG Star Trek person, guess what? They can join in with me in learning and being invited and welcomed so wonderfully by our audience into this huge, expanding universe.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks. Well, we will be back with a regular episode coming up soon, and we're also going to have an update from Playmates. Hopefully, get some answers to some of our burning questions about the Prodigy line and filling in some holes from the original line. Until then, this has been... Look at my Star Trek toys!